wonderful young people a round of applause. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Scott has been a friend of NewGate for over 20 years. She is a certified Montessori teacher. She is a lawyer, a nonprofit director, writer, and gender equality advocate. Her first teaching experience was with the Peace Corps in West Africa, and she has worked primarily with international development organizations, living in 7 countries in 4 continents. Most recently, she lived 3 years in India, working with small NGOs and teaching English to orphaned teenage girls. In Sarasota, Scott is chair of the Through Women's Eyes International Film Festival, now in its 23rd year, and she is president of the United Nations Women USA Gulf Coast. She has raised 2 Montessori children, both now young adults, and one is here tonight with her. Hi, Rachel. And is an avid amateur athlete. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of Pennsylvania. She received her Juris Doctorate degree from New York University, and she received an MPA from Princeton University. But her Montessori certification was the most difficult educational experience she ever had. Trust me. It is a great pleasure that I introduce to you this evening E. Scott Osborne.
Thank you, Tanya. And it's very hard to follow all those speeches. Let me see if we can get this organized here. How did y'all manage with this? This is not easy. Oh. Thank you. And those speeches were amazing. As a former English teacher, I love how many included poems. So everybody got a poem, hands up. Before I get started, because I want to give you a few suggestions for your post-NewGate journey, I want you all to stand up. Stand up. Graduates only. Turn around and give a round of applause to all of those people that you have mentioned, who got you here, who helped you, your friends. We want to see your faces. Thank you. That's all you can say. You're graduating from a Montessori high school, and this will be a curiosity for all the rest of your life. Many of you know that, having been at other schools. You will be asked about it a lot. You might as well just embrace this. Whatever parts of your Montessori experience loom large for you, maybe it was the Pink Tower, maybe it was the checkerboard if you were here in your early years, maybe in your later years it was theater immersion, or opera week, or research trips. But whatever it was about your Montessori experience, embrace it and be prepared to explain it to people, because they probably will not understand your upbringing. But I want you to go with it. And tonight I'm going to expand on this just a little bit. I want to give you a few brief suggestions for keeping Montessori in your life. You've all talked about how incredibly formative this experience was, and believe it or not, you can help keep it in your life. I want to encourage you not to think of your Montessori education as something that's done, but now it's in your hands to continue. You undoubtedly know that practical life is actually a curriculum part of the early childhood education. It's that time when you do table washing and silver polishing and line walking and those other 3-year-old skills. Some of you, especially new parents, probably wondered why your 3-year-old was learning silver polishing, something they were probably not doing at home. But Maria Montessori knew what she was doing when she created these lessons. And I am going to suggest that you continue this practical life journey, that you set your sights on new practical life skills, the adult ones. It's sort of like a Pink Tower for grown-ups. I was not a Montessori child, though I did raise 2, but I am an avid Montessori adult, and I ascribe firmly to the idea of practical life lessons. About 15 years ago, when I was teaching here and talking with middle and high school students, not so different from yourselves, we started talking about competencies, and the competencies they wanted post-NewGate. And amazingly, I came up with a project called the Competencies Project, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you today. And be forewarned, parents especially, your first comments, your first suggestions will probably make you think I'm crazy. So hear me out until the end. So listen up. Competencies 101, post-NewGate. Take up juggling. Play more poker. Start fires out of doors. In addition, learn how to iron a shirt, sharpen knives, hold a baby with confidence, play pool and billiards, and yes, poker, write a condolence note, and attend a funeral in a tradition not your own. Make a freestanding fire outdoors with available materials. Eat with chopsticks, tie a Windsor knot tie. Orient with a compass, unclog a toilet. Open an IRA. Use a clock face for telling directions. Open a bottle of wine with the traditional old-fashioned wine opener. Call someone you do not know on an actual telephone. Drive a manual shift automobile. Okay, you think, what's the big deal? Pretty concrete. Well, how about some more nuanced practical life skills? Can you make socially appropriate introductions in any setting? Can you cook a meal in someone else's home in an unfamiliar kitchen, efficiently and neatly? Can you set up a simple outdoor tent? Can you bargain in markets where prices are not stated, which is most of the world? Can you entertain a group of 6-year-olds for an hour, or recite at least one poem by heart? I suspect many of you have that one down. Can you make change in another currency, or identify musical instruments in an orchestra? And those are very hands-on. What about things you should know, things you don't want to have to look up or consult an app? Do you know, without looking it up, a few major star constellations? Or the significant forms of production in 4 other countries? The most prevalent health indicators in other countries? Or the basic vocabulary and principles of a few major sports? The most fundamental principles of the major world religions? Or maybe the sounds of individual instruments in that orchestra? Now, before I go on to some more significant competencies, let's think about these. If you're like most people, you will have identified a few things from that list that you can do. And for most of the rest of the list, you probably thought, why bother? You thought, I'll never need to tie a Windsor tie. And you would be right. And you thought, if I need to do it, I'll look it up. And you would also be right. But I would argue that these competencies, and others like it, I have a list of 200 now for you, but not tonight, are your foundation. They form your foundation. The same way that that pink tower and that silver polishing formed a foundation for 3-year-olds. Remember, 3-year-olds also don't need to polish silver. It's not necessary for them. But those skills, those lessons opened the door to practically everything that followed. And you need to continue to open doors, not stay where you are. You're going to need to continue to open doors to make your own Montessori practical life lessons for a fulfilling and productive adult life. Continuing to expand your competencies in all these things gives you 2 super important things. First, it creates opportunities for continued mastery. You're feeling great now. You finished high school, but you're going to run into situations where you don't know things. And you're going to want opportunities to say, hey, I can do that. I've mastered that thing. Those will be super valuable to you. Sticking with your current skills in all those areas is not enough. That mastery will give you the confidence you need to face the other challenges in life, the challenges you really have to take on. And second, the experience of diverse learning skills creates the brain and body architecture you need to master new challenges. It creates those pathways for the other things you want to do. It's this diverse architecture of experiences, that foundation that will permit you to move on. So I'm telling you to continue to actively develop practical life skills, not just career or academic skills. Those will be given to you anyway, but all those other skills, those Montessori lessons you create for yourself. I'll give you a couple of examples. One day, maybe you'll be at work, and a coworker of yours will be juggling a baby and a keyboard or a phone, because that's what women do a lot of these days. And because you know how to hold a baby, you can say, hey, how about I hold that little one while you finish up? And you know what you will have done? First of all, you've made a friend for life. And second of all, you'll feel like a hell of a hero. You'll have done a really good deed. And when you know the 4 major religions of the world and some economic principles, think about the insights you'll have gained. You will have insights into culture and foreign policy and economics and the price of your phone all in one fell swoop. And if you can distinguish between an oboe and a clarinet and a flute when you hear them, you'll have created all kinds of pathways in your brain for senses you didn't anticipate. Those skills will help you. These competencies, these pink towers for grown-ups, will give you stepping stones to where you want to go. Just like that first pink tower led you to further learning. Only now you need to create the lessons yourselves. So okay, you think, I'll learn to juggle, I'll open up some bottles of wine, I'll start fires, I'll hold babies. Great. Go for it. But let me tell you first, before we finish, the really big skills, the really important practical life skills. First, can you make friends at every stage of life? You have all talked about the incredible community and the friendship you have here. Take that with you forever. But you're also going to go to new places. You're going to be in different situations, and you're not going to have friends. And you're going to need to know how to form them. That is a life skill, and it's something you can develop because you've mastered other things. And it's probably one of the most important ones. I know many, many adults who've never mastered this. They move to a new place, and they struggle, and they don't talk about it. So think about meeting new friends, making new friends. It's a skill. Second, can you identify and manage your social anxieties so you can walk into a room of new people calmly and talk to them? If I had a nickel for everyone who didn't, I'd be a very rich woman. That's not easy, even for most grown-ups. We can't do it. So on your first day of college or a new job, you're going to need that. Social anxiety is everywhere. If you happen to experience it, it's not a character flaw. It's simply a skill that you can work on developing. And the sooner you do, the better off you'll be. For every college student who drinks too much on weekends, I can see a student who's struggling with social anxiety. You can lift this one, because you will be in new places. Third, can you speak up to defend your own positions? From your speeches, I guess that many of you, most of you, all of you feel really strongly about some things. You're going to be in settings, not a classroom of like-minded people, not where there's a teacher, not with all established conversation principles, but you'll be in settings where people will say things that will contradict your beliefs, and you'll be stymied how to deal with them. This happens a lot. I do a lot of advocacy work, as Tanya mentioned, and I have many, many people who say, you know, I was in a social setting, a party, soccer game, and I overheard this terrible remark. It was sexist or homophobic or racist, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to offend people. We're trained not to embarrass others. But that's going to bother you. And that's an interesting skill, because you're going to want to speak up for whatever it is you believe. So think about that one. So you don't go home cringing and say, oh, I should have said something. That really bothered me. Those things are going to happen sooner than you think. And that's a skill you can develop. And I know you will want to. And finally, the gold star of adult practical life competencies. Can you articulate personal vulnerabilities honestly? My guess is a lot of you can now, because you've had this incredible community, and you've shared amazing things. But as you go through life, you want to keep that one alive. That's very, very important. Stuff is going to happen in life. You're going to lose jobs. You're going to have partnerships that collapse. You're going to lose a job someday. You're going to have financial troubles. I hope all of your lives are wonderful, but for most people, stuff happens. And I would say something stronger in another setting instead of stuff. This is life. Can you articulate those vulnerabilities? That's a skill you can develop. It's a competency. It starts small and it builds. You develop it by finding people you trust and by starting with small topics. America's pretty competitive at its core. We don't want to reveal our weaknesses. We think it sort of reduces us, it's stigmatizing. But stuff is going to happen to you, and you're going to want people, and you're going to want to be able to do that. Trust me, it will make your life so much better. And finally, number 5, closely related to number 4, can you be a listener? When your roommate comes into your place at college and says, you know, I don't think I have any friends, are you going to be the listener that you want to be? Are you going to be able to receive those vulnerabilities? My guess is you have a great foundation, so keep developing it. So to sum up, those are the big 5. Finding new friends, handling social anxiety, speaking up for your beliefs, being open to vulnerabilities, and listening for them and others. Those are competencies, not character traits. But over time, they will be huge determiners of your life. And those smaller skills, those unnecessary ones, you know, the oboe and the juggling and all that stuff, using a compass, keep building them. They will give you the confidence you need to do what you want in life. And they will give you the mind and body architecture to do all those other things, the things you want to do. So take up knot tying, light a bunch of fires, learn some new currencies, and practice talking with people openness and with vulnerability. You can start from exactly where you are. You just have to be willing to be the learner, the skill developer, the Montessori child all your life. I know you'll do wonderfully. Thank you.
Gifford. Andrew Halprin. Isa Jorgensen. Jackson Proger.
Especially in
William Vesco. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you NewGate School's graduating class of 2021.